I think I heard the line, if I was Eddie Vedder, would you like me any better? And the answer is no for me. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name's John. His name is Andy. Sometimes I'm right, and I can be wrong. My own beliefs are in my soul. The butcher, the baker, the drummer, and then makes no difference what group I'm in. More on that later, but first we have a song to listen to. Andy, please share.
All right. Are you familiar with a band called Local H?
No.
Okay, cool. Well,
The bells, they are not a ringing.
Okay, fair. I've got a tune from them. This name you probably have heard of. The name of the track is Eddie Vedder.
Well, it's not winning me over.
Oh, great. Terrific. Well, go into it jaded already because of your distaste for Mr. Vedder, but yeah, let me know what you think.
I know I'm flying in the face of 60 odd million record sales or whatever the hell it is, but I cannot stand. Anyway, I will have a fair mind about an open mind about this. And yeah, I'll give it a go.
All right. See you on the other side.
Orders on the eyes, rejected sacrifice, cauterized at best, failing your witness test. I know it's dumb to say, but turnabout's fair play. Always knew that you were suffering a fool. You go ahead, as good as dead. You go ahead, as good as dead. You go ahead, as good as dead. As good as dead. You can go ahead, okay.
This is nice. Yeah, good start. The sound, I would say 90s, post-grunge. It's got a sort of melodic quality to it as well. I was just thinking when you're singing the chorus, which is mainly Good as Dead, if you took out the really fuzz guitars, it's almost like a Teenage Fan Club song, which I like. Yeah, it's just it's got a really nice sort of dare I say almost poppiness to it. Yeah, this is good stuff. Let's see how it goes.
I understand, but I don't wanna be your friend. I don't need another friend. Got too many friends. If I was any better, would you like me any better? That's it, I quit.
I think I heard the line, if I was Eddie Vedder, would you like me any better? And the answer is no for me.
Give a shit. You go ahead, as good as dead. 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 You go ahead.
really like that bit because they, of course, went into a bit of a bridge, and the first thing you're expecting is some sort of squealing solo guitar, meow, meow. But they resisted that, and it's just that sort of grungy type progression. And then, I'm just going to rewind it a little bit. It's not spectacular, but it's really pleasing. About there.
You're as good as dead. That's it, I quit, I don't give a shit. You go ahead, as good as dead. 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 Coming to a head, you're as good as dead.
The old oscillating outro. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, this was really, really pleasant. I like this a lot. It's not like mind blowing or anything. It's just really nice melody, catchy. You can almost, again, feel that sort of, as I said, it sounds a little bit sort of teenage fan clubby-ish to my ears, which in turn has lots of influence from Big Star and kind of the way the song goes. Yeah, I can see that. This is just really catchy, really nice, nice fuzzy guitars. They didn't go showy or flashy or anything. Just a real solid song that was very catchy, and I liked it a lot. And yeah, good choices throughout. Great sound. Right, let's find out a little bit more by talking with Andy.
Well, what say you,
Not
sir?
bad. Right. This was a strange one because I'll say this from the off. There was nothing particularly outstanding about this song, but I found it rather beguiling.
Yeah. That's an
Um,
excellent. That's actually the same relationship I have with this song as well. Like there's, I've heard songs like this a million times, but I like the sentiment behind it, and I like just a little bit of acid in his otherwise kind of monotone delivery. This is your review. I'm sorry, but I couldn't help but agree with you.
what he said. So yeah, so it starts off. There's a quick riff with a nicely distorted guitar, and then we're in. And straight away, I'm thinking, 90s post grunge, given the subject matter as well. He starts singing. The vocals have that, I call it, pleasantly smudged quality about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've just been sanded down a little bit so that they've got a bit of something to them. But yeah, and underneath the sort of main carriageway of guitar, there's a nice bass foundation and some lovely lower register drones. And I don't know if it's coming from the bass or from another guitar. I kind of probably is another guitar, but it's that. It sounds like someone's warming up for some hot yoga. You do get a similar sort of. It's almost like, in my mind, it feels like someone's bending steel girders or something. It's that groan you get from an industrial sort of installment that's moving due to bad weather or earthquakes or something. And you get that in some Big Dipper and some other sort of 80s college rocks sort of band songs. None of which spring to mind at the moment, but you know what I mean. Anyway, this is quite a simple song, so I haven't got a huge amount of notes for this. So the drummer keeps a really simple, steady beat, and then there's a couple of extra beats take us into the chorus. And while you go ahead, as good as dead, washes over me many, many times, I'm starting to like this. And it reminds me quite a bit of Teenage Fan Club, but probably, it's a heavier version of a Teenage Fan Club sort of song, particularly in the sort of melodic paths that they're taking. We strum into the next verse, and I hear the line, "If I was Eddie Vedder, would you like me any better?" And the answer for me is no. So that transition from the chorus into the verse, and later on when they have the bridge, which I'll talk about, I know it's a complete lack of embellishment. No frills or flourishes, just straightforward strumming. And the rhythm section, in its methodical simplicity, is really working on me. And for some reason, it just ticks a box mentally with me. I just really like the choices they're making. So they go through the process again. And again, there's nothing strange or wonderful or different going on. It's really nice sounding. Don't get me wrong. It's a really good example of this sort of music. And they get to what I'll call the bridge section, or middle out, whatever you want to call it. And naturally, at that point, it's all set up for a big solo or some guitar fireworks, but they totally resist the temptation. And instead, there's a little bit of this chord progression stuff that's really nice and slightly sort of chugging. And I absolutely love that. And I actually put it back just to listen to that bit where they don't do the solo again. Because I just thought that's a really, and again, it's sort of what Teenage Fan Club would do, That, don't get me wrong, they're not a copy or anything like that. It's just they remind me of their approach, and that sort of melodic where they do, it's just really beautiful parts to it. Which again, Teenage Fan Club took a lot from Big Star, and it's that Big Star from Birds, so it all goes back, doesn't it? But there's more repeated chorus, and then there's like what I call an old school oscillating ending. It's like the musical equivalent of a coin spinning and slowly slowing down, and and again, slightly old school. I really like that. So I didn't really catch many of the lyrics. I mean, there was a repeated chorus, and the bit with Eddie Vedder stood out to me. Probably alarm bells. But I think this song just had an honest approach that just totally won me over. They're kind of saying to me, "Here's our sound, and if you like it, fine, but we're not going to ponce about trying to win you over." And I just bought into it. It was pretty, it was catchy, and it was unpretentious. And probably the Teenage Fan Club connection, in my mind anyway, would have something to do with it. But I found this really refreshing and really satisfying. Thumbs up.
Yeah, great. I'm glad you liked it. I thought it was maybe a bit of a risk, just because I know what you've said. I recall what you've said in the past about your feelings towards this sort of post-grunge era, that because it was diluted with a lot of people trying to catch a star that was already on the. And
this wasn't. No, exactly. This is why I liked it so much.
Yeah, for sure.
You can tell, can't you? You can smell it out when it's not quite right. And
it's a bit too commercial, or it's a bit too polished, or it's a bit too this. This didn't seem pre-packaged at all when I first heard it, and it's still it stands the test of time when I go back to listen to Local H from time to time. So I thought, maybe this one John will dig this one. So
it's a great sound. And please, I know you're going to anyway, but I'm going to say, please tell me more about the band.
Yeah, of course. So, Local H is an American rock band originally formed by guitarist and vocalist Scott Lucas, bassist Matt Garcia, drummer Joe Daniels, and lead guitarist John Sparkman in Zion, Illinois in 1990. The members all met in high school in 1987 and founded Local H 3 years later. But after Sparkman's departure in 91 and then Garcia's departure in 1993, Local H continued as a very unorthodox two-piece setup. So this is just the singer and guitarist and the drummer that are left. So Lucas took on handling bass guitar frequencies after having a high school friend modify his guitar with an added bass pickup and a second output. So Local H played their first live show as a true duo on September 3rd, 1993. And this is how they would sort of progress thereafter. So what you heard was really just two musicians, and honestly, a lot of Lucas carrying the load of all the other kind of stringed instruments and ancillary string sounds that you would hear in their songs. I'm pretty sure that Daniels just stuck to drums the entire time he was with them. So,
Yeah,
but
if
yeah,
you're good at just beating something, carry on.
yeah. So, Local H recorded and released 3 studio albums through Island Records with the Lucas Daniels lineup. Ham Fisted in 95, As Good as Dead, which you just heard a track off of in 1996, and Pack Up the Cats in 1998. With As Good as Dead, the band found moderate commercial success with the single Bound for the Floor, which rose to number 5 on the U.S. alternative Billboard charts and number 10 on the U.S. hot mainstream rock Billboard chart. The songs Eddie Vedder and Fritz's Corner additionally made the top 40 on the alternative chart and the mainstream rock Billboard charts. As Good as Dead, the album on which the song features, is a bit of a concept album in and of itself, sort of about the dead-end small town life that they lived growing up in Zion, Illinois. And the album's title comes from the line in the song Eddie Vedder. Some prints of the album received parental advisory sticker due to the use of profanity in the song High-Fiving Motherfucker and others. Gwen Enot, I believe is how you pronounce it, Ihnat, of the AV Club, recently wrote of the album, As Good as Dead, released in the midst of Chicago's Alterna Peak, Pumpkins, Veruca, Urge, etc., could be read as a horrified reaction to the new hipsters and posers then swarming the city. They would then release another 6 albums on various other labels, and still tour to this day, though there's been a lot of turnover at the drummer. Daniels, at the drummer position, Daniels would leave the band after their departure from Island Records, and there's been a couple other guys that have come in and taken over the reins, or perhaps the sticks in this case. The lyrics: Porters on the eyes, rejected sacrifice, cauterized at best, failing your litmus test. I know it's dumb to say, but turnabout's fair play. Always knew that you were suffering a fool. You go ahead, as good as dead. You go ahead, as good as dead. You go ahead, as good as dead. As good as dead. You can go ahead. Okay, I understand, but I don't want to be your friend. I don't need another friend. I've got too many friends. If I was Eddie Vedder, would you like me any better? That's it. I quit. I don't give a shit. You go ahead, as good as dead. You go ahead, as good as dead. And that repeats itself several more times. Coming to a head, you're as good as dead. You're as good as dead. You're as good as dead. That's it. I quit. I don't give a shit. Several more repetitions of the you go ahead, as good as dead. And one more, coming to a head, you're as good as dead. And a little bit more from that AV article, that AV Club article, where the writer talks about more about Eddie Vedder in particular. Eddie Vedder is the heart of the whole record. While most of the tracks look outward, this song is inward, where Lucas tackles his own feelings of insecurity and self-worth on a more micro level. As one of As Good as Dead's lower key efforts, Lucas now swoon-worthy vocals take a break from screaming. He appears to be mildly conversing with his intended. If I was Eddie Vedder, would you like me any better? And quickly deduces that he failed your litmus test. He finally unfurls the album title 8 tracks in, You Go Ahead, As Good as Dead, not just dismissing the former object of his affection for passing over what he's offering in favor of flashier, showier players, but writing that person out of his life completely. Although Local H spends a lot of As Good as Dead poking fun at other people for everything from monster trucks to romance, Eddie Vedder backs up all those sentiments, showing the strength to stand up to someone who wants you to be just a little bit bigger than you already are. And yeah, I just love this, like, taking a stand for yourself and standing up for yourself. And it's almost like a I won't sell out type thing, or accept me as I am type approach. And I just like it. It's I don't know, it's almost got this working man's kind of like, and it's also very Gen X. Like, it's the most Gen X approach to music, right? Like you're underscoring that they abstain from doing the calculated thing of putting in a guitar lead to prove your metal or whatever as a musician. Just being like, no, man, this is the song, this is what it is I just think very early mid-90s Gen X approach to music. So I just dug the song, and I hoped you would too. I'm glad you did, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, I will go ahead and put a bow on things and say, hey, everybody out there, thanks for joining us. John, thanks for giving this a listen. Feel free to drop in the comments field if you enjoyed this song. If you didn't, if it reminded you of anything, it's your palette on which to paint your opinions. Please do so at your will. Also, while we have your attention, like, share, and subscribe if you'd be so inclined. Trying to grow the channel here. We're chugging along to 1,000. And we can't do that without you new guys. And also all you return loyalists, we really, really do appreciate you as well. All that out of the way, hopefully John and I will see all y'all and some more on the next installment of the Audiophiles. See you guys.